Hi, this is Kerry Artek with Wicked Stocks, bringing you your daily Apple report for Monday, May 22nd, 2023. Before I click through all the charts, I want to encourage you to please click like if you haven't already. It does help us out a great deal in being found on YouTube. Also, subscribe to the Wicked Stocks YouTube channel. You'll be provided notification each and every time new content has been uploaded. That includes the daily Apple and daily Tesla reports and the occasional stock pick we put out for free on YouTube. Speaking of stock picks, we put out two individual stock picks every week on wickedstocks.com. Last week it was Wynn Resorts, Taiwan Semiconductor. Two every week. You never really see part of a monthly subscription package that also includes daily triple Q, daily SPY analysis in video format like you see, weekly analysis in the S&P 500, NASDAQ 100, and the long bond ETF, the TLT, all for a very reasonable monthly subscription price. And we offer with that a 5-day free trial. So if you don't like what you see within 5 days, you can cancel and you pay nothing for that 5 days. So anyway, check out wickedstocks.com. Let's jump into the charts, weekly charts. So 3 weeks ago, we settled above very quietly this long-term descending channel top that this week is at 170.85. I could mention that on the daily chart, it's at 170.64. You can see it in the lower right here in the support resistance. 5-star support, annual containment. What does that mean? It means that it may well contain selling through the rest of the year. In fact, that is my expectation, and that above which we have entered a new phase, whereby prior to that, we were open to the possibility of topping out in the low 170s and falling off in a meaningful way, and as opposed to what occurred. And what occurred, if I could zoom in here, and I can't right now, but one of the interesting factors last week was an outside week. We dipped below the previous week's low, retested this channel bottom, and then settled above the previous week's high. That outside week at the top of a move, new high settlement, that is a sign of strength. And in fact, as I've been saying, I am expecting the 182.94 all-time high from January of 22 as a 3 to 5 week objective. We may reach this area over the next week or two now. We're 3 weeks into that, so we have 2 weeks to hold within the 3 to 5 week time horizon. Anyway, I think it's funny when I hear myself talk about these time horizons because I really get kind of queued up on them. You know why I really am queued up on the time horizon? Because I think it's useful information for options traders, and it's important to know whether it's it's going to happen in 3 to 5 weeks, or are we talking 2 to 3 months? And I'm still of the 3 to 5 weeks mindset. So holding above 170.80. 5 rather. All systems go to the upside on all the time horizons except short term, which I'll get to in just a moment. So in expecting 182.94, let's just say by the end of June or sooner, probably sooner. And this 218.86 long-term rising channel top, I think is calling the market, if you will. Market drawn to this now. And there will certainly be hurdles on the way up. 182.94 is the most obvious one. We could double top there for a month, perhaps fall back into the low 170s. That could certainly play out as we move into later summer. But closing above 182.94 is considered an eventuality, and if so, should lend toward a continued accelerated upward path as we move into later year. 218.86 wouldn't surprise me by the end of the year. So we'll put it that way. Anyway, let's get with the let's see here. Where I want to actually kind of jump into the day itself. And I think this actually, if you can, there's a lot of lines here, but we have what is essentially, what is that? Goes back to late March. So more than a 1 month, more like almost a 2 month rising channel top that actually contained the highs a couple of weeks ago, as you can see here. And it's at 177.41 today. It can contain session strength. I've resisted the urge to call it a 2-star resistance because of the buy signal that we're in that I spent a fair amount of time on just a moment ago in the opening. So it's 177.41 is the area that can contain daily buying pressures, and 173.21 you can see here in the support resistance as the area that can contain daily selling pressures. I don't know if we'll see either point today, but I certainly think it's quite possible. And inside of that, I have intraday pivot points just above the market at 176.15 and just below at 174.30. 59. Both those levels can contain ample intraday activity, well suited for aggressive day traders. If we push through 176.15, 177.49 is likely where we can place a daily high. And if we close above 177.49, by the way, that's considered an eventuality. But what I'm saying here is that 182.94 target, that 3 to 5 week objective I mentioned a moment ago, the all-time high from January of 22, may well be reached by the end of the week. Where, as I said earlier, we could double top for a week, possibly for a month, and fall off from there. And it would be a settlement above 182.94, especially on the weekly chart. That would then signal longer term bullish continuation. Our next near term, that is to say 2 to 3 week objective above 182.94, FYI, is this 193.39 longer term channel top. But I don't want to get too far ahead of myself here. That's where I mentioned there will be hurdles on the way up to this longer term objective that I'm going to keep pointing to in the weeks ahead at 218.86. There will be meaningful tests on the way up. There always are. Once again, 193.39 considered a 2 to 3 week objective if we can close, say, at the end of the week above 182.94. But I think that's a bit of a long shot. First, the market really does need to close today, for instance, above 177.49 for the week itself to show a continued bullish dynamic. Until then, the week itself, at least in the midweek, we can settle into kind of a two-sided framework. And that's where I mentioned short term is a different story. 177.41 sellable, 173.21 buyable, whether that's closing a position or opening a position, going long or going short. And I'm speaking going short at 177.41 or going long at 173.21. Now, if we, I don't see us, how should I put this? I don't see 170.85 today or 170.64. Once again, on the daily chart, that's 170.64. I don't see this today. Even if we break 173.21, we could, of course, but what I will say is if we close today below 173.21, then yes, we should tomorrow test this 170.64 channel top on the daily chart, which on the weekly chart is 170.85, where we can bottom out not only for a day, not only for the week, not only through June, but even through the rest of the year. Now, I do want to mention that if this thing comes unraveled and we settle back below 170.64, and once again on the weekly chart it's 170.85, I do want to show that there is daily chart support coming up that will give us some clarity as to whether or not we have a meaningful sell signal. Right now, I'm going to point you to the lower right. 169.14. I keep talking about the 1% zone. I'm going to go back to this chart here. A 1% downside violation of 170.85 is 169.14. So if we close 169.14 or lower, and it really needs to be on the weekly chart, but any daily settlement at 169.14, and I don't expect to see that this week, would be a negation of the long-term buy signal, a neutralizing of it, and with that, that is actually a valid sign of weakness as we would continue into June and July. But I'm also going to be watching this rising channel bottom, which by Friday actually coincides with that 169.14, 1%. So this will be our formation to watch in terms of the rejection potentially of the long-term buy signal that still exists above 170.85. So right now it's 160.38. Later in the week it's 169.74, and it would be a settlement below this formation that would tell us all bets are off. Liquidate the long positions, whatever they may be to you, whether they're out of the money options or you're long the stock outright, and now consider playing the short side. Now, you could buy 160 out of the money puts that don't expire for at least a few weeks, or 150 out of the money puts that don't expire for at least a few months, because it would be these two lower price points that I would anticipate over the next 2 to 3 weeks to 158.94 and over the next couple of months to 149.87. But that is a scenario I'm not anticipating. And once again, we remain all systems go to the upside. I'm pushing 10 minutes. I'm going to leave it at that for Monday's Apple. Please click like, subscribe, and check out wickedstocks.com. You have a nice day.